This is the meeting of the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission. The commission meeting is taking place today. This is Friday, March 16th, 2012. My name is William L. Brown. I am chairman of the commission. At this time, I'd like to, where's Reverend Matt's not here? Who's here? Don, would you give an indication for us? Commissioner Wright, have a
Father in heaven, we come to you today and we just thank you for the opportunity to do the business of dealing with your creation in the natural resources. We thank you for this opportunity. We ask you your blessings on everybody present here today, and we ask you that at the appointed time when we finish the meeting, that everyone will be granted a safe trip home to their respective homes. Again, we just thank you for the opportunity to be good stewards of the creation that you have granted all of us. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get to the approval of the minutes, I want to make an announcement that there is a sign-up sheet that's being passed around in the room. If you're here, please sign that sheet with your name. And it also, if there's anyone that wants to address the commission on any subject that is here being brought up today, I ask you to come to the center mic in the room, the center of the room, to the mic, and state your name and your business, your purpose for being here. Would ask you to wait until the subject matter about which you want to speak is brought up in the commission. That way we keep everything on the same schedule. At this time, I want to ask if we have a motion regarding the approval of last month's minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of aye, say aye. Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. At this time, we will go to Wildlife Management Committee. Commissioner Schuster.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. The Commission recognizes Melinda Welton, the Ornithological Society. That's a mouthful right there. Welcome, Melinda. Thank you.
I'd like to give folks a summary of our Crane Festival. All right, and the Tennessee Crane Festival this year was actually the 21st festival that has been conducted at the Hiawassee. And this year we decided to just make it a little bit bigger and better. We came up with an official name for the festival and a logo. The festival committee that decided the scope of this year's festival included TWRA folks, Audubon folks, TOS, and Tennessee Wildlife Federation. One of the things that we did this year, one of the local Birchwood residents did, was start recording the number of visitors to the Hiawassee platform. And these are minimum numbers, but last year there were over 7,500 people that came to the gazebo itself. And one thing that points out is we're going to have to improve the lavatory situation up there. But 4,500 folks came outside the festival itself, and we had about 3,000 festival attendees. So the 4,500 does not include the attendees. Well, one of the characters that allowed us to have unprecedented publicity for the agency and for Hiawassee was the arrival of this rare crane, the hooded crane. We got
publicity across the country, into Europe. This is a bird that breeds in eastern Russia and northern China and winters in Japan. And apparently he got tangled up with some of the sandhill cranes that breed in Siberia and got on the wrong continent. And the hooded crane was first identified, the identification was confirmed on December 14th, and he left on February 1st and showed up in Indiana. I don't know where he is now. I think he just hangs out with the sandhills who tolerate him. But more than 1,000 people came to the gazebo outside that season, so there is quite a lot of visitation. The folks represented, especially when the hooded crane was there, 47 states, and they came from 15 countries. Even folks from Asia who are big listers came to Hiawassee because it was cheaper to come to Tennessee than Japan. People not only came for the sandhill cranes, which is apparently the best place in eastern North America to photograph sandhills, but they come from the whooping cranes, for the whooping cranes. And this is the first time we have numbers of whooping cranes that are present at Hiawassee. It's a regular stopping place for both adults and juveniles. So the Sandhill Crane Festival, we got together with additional sponsors and partners. We were given a generous grant from the Barbara Mapp Foundation. We created a website. We had a professional graphic designer help us. Both of those gifts were donated. We also involved the Meigs and Ray County Tourism. The Holiday Inn was also a big helper with this, and traditional partners for the festival. Another big aspect, another big goal of the festival was to raise money for helping TWRA with management out at Hiawassee. The fund concept was started with Ed Carter and got approval from the top down, and then we worked with Scott Summershoe, got approval from the bottom up, and the three aspects that the fund money can be used for is crane habitat management, research on perhaps additional management, additional habitat that we might be able to create in the area, and improving wildlife watching opportunities. To augment our fundraising, we had a gala event at the Hunter Museum in Chattanooga called the Sandhill Soiree. The Saturday night of the festival, we had a dinner with Audubon fundraiser with an auction, and then we had donation boxes presented to the attendees. There were several places where there were boxes that folks could drop in a little bit of extra cash. The publicity was enhanced with the help of Chattanooga Presents, an event planning group in Chattanooga. They donated some of their time. We got numerous press releases out. There were posters put up from Nashville, Knoxville, down to Dayton, Tennessee, Chattanooga. We put up billboards. Those were mostly donated. There were mentions in many, many newsletters. National Geographic tourism site listed the festival, and all the Tennessee State tourism sites listed it. And then Dan Hicks and I did a number of interviews in the Chattanooga area. And the festival was a great success. We had over 3,000 visitors. They mostly came from Tennessee. We also had some folks from Georgia. We had any number of volunteers that helped folks see the birds. Blue Moon Cruises provided buses to get people back and forth between the gazebo, or the Hiawassee Refuge, and the Birchwood School. Inside the refuge building, we had educational events. Dan set up a closed cam camera that his son ran, which everybody loved. There was a little theater set up. And then Scott Summershoe had put together some educational displays with the help of Cindy Routledge. And then at the Birchwood School, we had lots and lots of families. This is Sandy the Crane. It was loaned to us by the International Crane Foundation. And our special presenter was Brian Fox Ellis, who does a a storytelling presentation in the person of John James Audubon. We also had the American Eagle Foundation come and do a raptor show. So just to wrap it up, the festival was an outrageous success. The festival itself attracted more than 3,000 folks. There was tremendous increased publicity for TWRA and the Hiawassee as a wildlife watching spot. And we raised more than $7,000 in the Tennessee Crane Fund. And these funds are available to Region 3. They just need to put together a proposal. There is a committee of 5 that will approve the proposal. Gary Myers has agreed to serve as the chair. The former president of Tennessee Wildlife Federation, Bob Ford, will be on the committee, past president of the Tennessee Ornithological Society. Chris Sloan will be on the committee, as well as Dr. Collins from UT Memphis. We haven't done a wrap-up yet of what went well and what needs to be improved next year, or plans for the next festival, but hopefully it will proceed with the same kind of gusto that we had last year.
Thank you, Melinda. Does anyone on the commission have any comments or questions for Melinda? All right. Thank you very much, Melinda, and
right.
Congratulations on the success of the event this year.
Oh, and thanks to the commissioners that came to the festival and the director who came to all the events.
Thank you. Director Carter?
I just want to take the opportunity real quickly to thank Melinda and all the volunteers that really went out of their way to make the festival the success that it was. Between she and Dan Hicks, I think they both pretty much lived that event for several months. And between the two of them and the Region 3 folks that were reassigned from other duties for that particular weekend, we owe a great deal of thanks, but it was a big success. And thank the commission when y'all came down and took the time to go over as well and view that event. So anyway, I just wanted to take the time to say publicly thanks to everybody that was a part of that.
Thank you, Director Carter. At this time, the commission recognizes Dr. David, and I hope I pronounce this right. Is it Aborn? Yes. Good. He's from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Welcome.
All right, so first I echo Melinda's comments to thank you for having us here and to talk some about the festival. I've been researching the sandhill cranes for about the last 10 years or so up at Hiawassee, and so when Melinda asked me to help with the festival, I was more than happy to do so. And one thing that she had expressed interest in, and something that I was interested in also, was doing a visitor survey to assess the success and the potential economic impact that the survey might have. I had done a similar survey about 10 years ago, and with some of the things that had happened recently, I felt that it was time for another survey to be done, and specifically with all the controversy last year regarding potential crane hunts here in Tennessee, and some of the debate that went on about who pays their fair share. Are wildlife watchers riding the backs of the hunters and fishermen in terms of monetary support and so on? We wanted to get some idea of, well, how accurate is that perception? And then in addition, this year's festival had attracted a tremendous amount of publicity, both in its own right. Melinda and Dan had spent a lot of time and effort in generating publicity for the festival, and then, just as you heard, coincidentally, you can't buy this type of publicity. Just having the hooded crane there just generated a lot of interest in and of itself. So, the time was right to do a survey at the festival and see what was going on. So, some of the questions that I asked on this survey, and I should point out that I printed off 500 surveys that were handed out directly at the festival. So visitors filled them out right then and there. The previous survey I had done 10 years ago, what I did was I printed off about 150 surveys and attached self-addressed stamped envelopes to them. And visitors, I had several locations, boxes where visitors could take those surveys, fill them out at their leisure, and return them at no cost, since I had already provided the postage. So these surveys were filled out just right then and there. And so I asked where people were coming from, how far had they traveled, how long did they stay in the area, how they heard about the festival, what their primary reason for attending the festival was, other activities that they might have had planned during their stay, whether they possessed a hunting and or fishing license and belonged to any conservation organizations, their overall satisfaction with the festival, and how likely are they to return in the future. And also, we wanted to see if maybe people would be willing to pay a modest fee next year for the festival. So we were thinking something like $5 for people, say 12 and over, and under 12 would be able to attend for free. So, as I say, I printed off 500 surveys, and 308 were filled out. And this response rate of 62% is very comparable to a lot of the other large-scale surveys that have been done, both at birding festivals as well as at hunting and fishing surveys, where surveys are sent out to memberships via membership lists and so forth. So 62% is very respectable. For most folks this year, it was their first time ever attending the festival. The average number of people per party was 3. In terms of where most people were coming from, there were 12 states that were represented, and these are the major ones. So by far, most people were coming from Tennessee, followed by Georgia, Ohio, and North Carolina. And just FYI, the other states represented were Alabama, Connecticut, Hawaii, Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And I should point out the people from Hawaii were here already. They did not fly from Hawaii specifically to attend the festival. About a third of attendees traveled more than 100 miles to attend the festival, but most were more local. How did they hear about it? Most people, it was either newspaper articles, and I suspect that some of these newspaper articles might have been relating to the hooded crane rather than or I should say in addition to the festival itself, because many of the articles that talked about the hooded crane also mentioned the Birchwood Festival. So newspaper was number one, followed by friends or family, then the internet, bird clubs, and then television. I asked what was the number one reason, so they could only pick one reason for what most drew them. So people would say that they wanted to see everything. They wanted to see the hooded crane, they wanted to see the sandhills, They wanted to see the exhibits and the speakers and so forth, but they could only pick one reason, what was their biggest motivation for attending the festival. Vast majority came to see the sandhill cranes, followed by the hooded crane, the speakers and exhibits, hooping cranes, Cherokee Memorial, and then just seeing some of the other wildlife, like, say, the eagles that can be seen out at Hiwassee. And then for those that traveled more than 100 miles, how long did they stay within 100 miles of Birchwood? On average, it was a day and a half, but it ranged anywhere from 1 day to 7 days. So some folks were really sort of making a vacation out of it. So they were, planning multiple visits to the viewing area. They were planning on sightseeing in Chattanooga, shopping in the local area, Chattanooga, Cleveland, Dayton, and so on. In terms of how much money was spent, for those that came from more than 100 miles, on average they spent about $200 during their stay, and the range was $0 up to $1,000. And for those that came from within 100 miles, they spent about $30. In terms of who these people are, how they view themselves, how they would describe themselves, most people put that they were outdoor enthusiasts. So they weren't just interested in birds, but they were interested in all kinds of wildlife, just being outdoors and so on. And then next, most common response was wildlife watcher, and then bird watcher, and then other. On average, they belong to one conservation organization, and about between a quarter and a third possessed hunting and fishing licenses. In terms of satisfaction level, most people were very satisfied with their experience at the festival. 14 were moderately satisfied, and 3% were slightly satisfied. In terms of how likely they were to return next year, vast majority said yes, they would. And for those that said that they definitely would not return, about a third of those also reported that they were only slightly satisfied. So folks that, or moderately satisfied. So people that enjoyed themselves, that really liked the festival, were very likely to return next year. And in terms of willingness to pay $5, again, most people said yes, they would be willing to pay a modest fee to attend the festival. And again, those that said that they would not be willing to pay a fee, again, were only slightly or moderately satisfied with the event. The main complaints were the slow shuttle service. Basically, we were overwhelmed. We did not. We were expecting a lot of people, but we were not expecting as many as we did, and so there just either weren't enough buses, or the buses weren't big enough to hold everyone, and so people were complaining that they had to wait 30 or 40 minutes for a bus to come by, to take them back to the school or out to the Cherokee Memorial, something like that. Next was that there needed to be better instructions regarding parking, especially if they came via Highway 60 from Dayton. If they came up Highway 58 and then turned on to 60, they passed by the school, they saw the signs for the parking and so forth. But from the other direction, There was not as much signage. They thought that they could just turn right into the refuge and be able to park right there at the refuge, and they had to turn around and go back to the school and so on. So some people felt that there need to be better parking instructions. A number thought that the cranes would be closer, that they would be able to, really have the cranes kind of right in their face. And a few people said that there needed to be more children's activities. They liked the activities that we did have, but they would have liked to have seen more. In terms of praise, by far the biggest praise was for the volunteers. Almost everyone commented how wonderful the volunteers were. They also liked that there were spotting scopes set up at the viewing area so people could really get good looks at the cranes and the other wildlife, and that there were people there to point things out to them. And many commented that this was just a really good opportunity for both adults and children to see the cranes, see wildlife, to learn about the area, and so on. So what's the next step? Well, Melinda and I are trying to assess the broader economic impact, because the money that someone spends doesn't just stay there. It has broader impact. So someone goes to a restaurant, they leave a tip. That tip, helps keep the server employed, and that server then, is able to spend money elsewhere and to pay taxes and so forth. So that we're trying to assess, in terms of that, the $7,000 that was raised, and the $200 per person that was spent. What is the broader economic impact of that? And so we're hoping to consult. We've got the names of a couple of folks who do these sorts of analyses. And just yesterday, I found a computer program called Implan, which is designed to do these sorts of analyses as well. And there's a free downloadable demonstration version of Implan, which I've downloaded. And so I'll look through it, and maybe we can use it ourselves and get some idea of the broader economic impact. And then also, in addition, based on some of the results and the impact, maybe it's time to revisit the management plan that was written for the eastern population of sandhill cranes, on which the hunting plan was based. And so there were a number of things that I and some others felt were lacking in that. And so maybe now we have some additional data that we can bring in, and perhaps sit down with everyone who is involved with writing the management plan, and seeing if we can't come up with a plan that's agreeable to everyone, to the hunters, to the wildlife watchers, and so on. And so with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions that anyone might have.
Does anyone have any questions?
Dr. Aborn, do
Yeah.
you plan to share that additional information with people from the agency that are working on the studies and looking at the possibilities of hunting seasons?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was one of the people that was involved with the draft of the management plan that went to the Fish and Wildlife Service. So, I am happy to share any and all information I can with anyone who's interested in it.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Aborn.
Thank you.
Very thorough, and we appreciate that information.
Thank you very much.
Chairman Brown, at this time, we're going to look at a short video from the Music City chapter of Quail Forever and a recent youth hunt that they're going to tell us about.
You gonna narrate this for us? Crabtree?
There is audio, and I'm happy to see that he has the same technical problems that I do sometimes. This is a youth quail hunt.
Keep going there, Ron.
That many of the chapters, Quail Forever chapters across the state conduct, and this is kind of give you an idea of your end users. You folks make a lot of decisions up here, and although you hear from some people about how that impacts them, this is an opportunity to just look on these kids' faces, how much they're enjoying this. We have one of these every year, and this is on the agency website, and we have had people come all the way from Memphis and all the way from Bristol to participate in this. So this gives you an idea of what kind of a need there is for this sort of thing. And the agency is now operating under the 5-year strategic plan, 2006-2012. And when I looked at that current plan, one of the planned activities or programs was to provide more youth quail hunts in the WMAs. There may have been some of those, but I have not been able to find any of them. So I would encourage in this next year 5-year plan, not only that be included, but let's follow through on those plans. I believe that the definition of legacy is something that is passed down to future generations. And there are some state wildlife agencies in other states, Missouri to be exact, that have established the bobwhite quail as their legacy species. There are several reasons for that. Those of you that were here and heard Don McKenzie's presentation, he said that quail hunting in the South was as much of a tradition as SEC football and NASCAR. And I think a legacy that this commission could leave would be to make that true again. Anytime you're ready, I'll shut up.
I can try a different program. I can get to play.
Well, did you put it in this player back here?
I can. Just won't go to the recording.
I'm happy to see that even the experts have problems with this.
Hope this is no indication of how the legacy might turn.
I won't comment on that, Chairman.
This event was made possible through the cooperation of TWRC, Giles County Co-op, and the hospitality of Mr. Orrin Ingram.
tell them they can bring their gun, case it, unload it, no ammunition. You'll have the ammunition unless somebody has a 410 or something like that, then they'll need to give you the ammunition for it. But what we do, and you guys can control this in the field, but ultimately the dog handler's in charge of the field. Okay, that it's their call. They're going to control everything. When the dog goes on, typically I like to control the hunter if I'm handling the dogs. My dog's going on point. I take that hunter. I get my shell. Here's your shell. We watch him load the gun. We talk to him. Need to keep it in a safe manner. Dog's on point right here. We're going to flush your. This is your shot range, young man or young lady. You can shoot anywhere from here to here. Nothing low, nothing behind you. But you want to be close enough to that hunter in case he does start to swing around with that gun. Guess what? I can grab him and say no shot. Okay?
You hold the gun up
Right.
in case they
Yeah.
start.
Okay?
We got a tendency to take the gun low.
Now the excitement begins and the adrenaline builds toward that explosion of whirring wings. This moment requires all of the mental capabilities that you folks have been blessed with to achieve what you have in life. Given the fact that you have each of the 5 variables located, you have a range of swing available. Should one of the 5 factors that you're responsible for happen to be located in your slice of the pie, you must be aware of it. I want to stress the fact that you must be willing to pass up shots. If you have a double barrel or an over and under shotgun, which we strongly prefer, break it open and cradle it on your forearm.
Said the most important thing on this one is low birds, okay? Not every one of them come out and fly straight up. Fly straight out, okay? Now remember the dogs down here, okay? We're standing here today, okay? One thing to remember is when you got the gun pointed out straight like this, that's as low as you should go right here, just like this, okay? Nothing down here. Keep it above your shoulder, okay? That's what we try to do. That's what we try to do, okay? Sometimes a dog, when he gets as excited as you do, he doesn't just run in there. Sometimes he has a tendency he wants to jump, okay? If he jumps, you got to make sure you're still above him, okay? Pay attention to that. Dog handler and the mentor, they're going to try to help you on that. Try to keep you on that part, okay? One thing also is try to keep yourself under control. I know it's all exciting. The dog's out there working, you're watching the dog points, the adrenaline starts pumping. You got to kind of keep your emotions intact here, okay? Control yourself a little bit. That's where accidents start to happen if you get too excited, okay? Try to remember that, okay? Try to keep yourself under control a little bit, okay? That's what I try to do. Questions yet? Yes, sir.
We have an automatic shotgun. How many shells can we have in it?
They're probably going to give you 1 or 2 at most. Probably 1 is what they're going to give you. You won't get any ammunition. They call you up to the line. They're just going to rotate. There's probably 4 or 5 per group. You'll be all walking together. Make sure watch where you're walking. Watch for vines and holes and all that. Pay attention to where you're walking. Okay. All right. It's going to be cold out there. I don't think everybody has gloves. I hope. Okay. Gloves and a hat. Pretty much. Okay. If you want earplugs, you're more than welcome to wear them. Okay. Be sure to wear them. If you've got your earplugs in, be sure to pay special attention so you can hear what's going on out there. Okay. So you can hear. Okay. Today is about you, but also it's about the dog. The dog's probably more excited than anybody else, I'll promise you. Okay? But it should be a great day. Weather-wise, it'll be really good out there. That's for sure. Well, it'll sit tight today, that's for sure. Hopefully.
So y'all providing all the ammo?
Huh?
Y'all providing all the shells?
Yes. All done over. I'm sure we will.
We don't need to bring our own.
We have shells. I'll tell you, we have them all. All you need to do is just hang your gun in a case. That's all you need. Make sure your gun's in the case, we can have it, and we'll get it out there to the field, okay? So once we get there, action open, safety on, okay? Best thing to do is periodically check it. Make sure your safety's still on, okay? All right? Make sure, okay? That's how it's going to work, okay? Dog will point, the dog handler and the mentor will walk one person up there at a time, get you put you in the correct position to where we think the bird's going to fly out of. You'll load your gun, walk up there, okay? Hopefully it's going to fly like it's supposed to. Come up. You're going to get to shoot and harvest it, I hope. Okay? All right? And you'll rotate to the back of the line. The next person will keep going until everybody's hopefully we show shot, we killed a bunch of them, I hope. That's the
What's our
plan.
limit?
What's the limit? I think they changed it. Is it 5 or 6? 6. 6, I think it's 6 now, yeah. They think they changed it, but they changed it, also they shortened the season too, that's for sure. That's right, okay. All right, any more questions? Remember, #1 goal is safety, all right? If you don't think the shot looks right, you don't shoot. That's all you gotta do, okay? If you don't like the shot, you don't shoot, okay? You don't ever hear nothing, you don't hear no word out of anybody, okay? That's your call, all right, on that right there, okay? Once you pull the trigger, it's over. Everybody knows that, don't you? You ain't gonna recall it. You ain't gonna recall it. Yep. Everything out here now, I mean, especially when you're hunting out there, especially by yourself, you gotta remember, you know referees out there, umpires, you throw flags out there, all right? Okay? Got people out there to try to help you a little bit, okay? Remember that, all right? So, stay warm, have fun, okay? All right.
Bird gets away, don't worry about it. You shoot and it gets away, don't worry about it. No big deal. Maybe the dog will find a little further on up the road. All right, kid.
I'm ready.
All of you first-time hunters, first time you've been quail hunting will be today. Raise your hands. All right. That's good. Now, those of you that think you're pros, raise your hand. What? All right. I knew we'd have one there. All right. Those of you that think you're going to be pros after today, raise your hand. Come on. You're more optimistic than that. All right. I think we're ready to go. Thank you very much. All right, Zeke has a point here.
There you go.
Got a crippled bird here, and Zeke, being a good disciplined dog, he's holding the point instead of.
All right. Bring him here, boy. Here, buddy.
Come here, Zeke.
Got him. He sure did, didn't he? He flopped him. Yeah. Dead in here. See?
And that was Mr. Peter DePhillips that made that fantastic shot there, and we're going to see if Zeke will go up here and bring it in. Good shot, Peter.
Yeah, it was a good shot here.
Yeah, he's a brain shot.
Thank you, Peter. Great shot.
Thank you.
Now here is a great part of this. Dad's going to be able to go down there with his son, get the first quail he's killed.
Shoot, Charlie.
Did he run?
Oh, he landed there. I saw him.
He smelled it.
He was there.
There he is. Okay. All right. That was a hard shot.
I think every group besides ours got 12.
Is that
Little boy, how many birds did you kill?
Say what? How many birds did I kill? My dog counted a bunch. Mr. Max did fantastic. Thank you, sir. We got 9 in our.
All right.
We had one gentleman shot 3, and everybody else had at least 1.
Hey, that's something I can't get enough of, really, though. Anything to do with hunting and stuff, I just can't get enough of. I see some heavy hitters behind you up there.
Girl, that's
In the shop anyway, we were working, but I would have never thought of making the picture tape when I can view from this year. I think that's gonna be a regular fun job.
How well did this guy do today? Did he kill
Well,
any birds?
he did good. He done real good.
Hey, Richard.
He's a fine young man. I'm proud of him.
How many did he?
He killed one. He shot 3 times. He knocked feathers out of one. He killed one. 2 out of 3.
Killed one and frightened a couple of others badly, huh?
Yeah.
Now where are you from?
Loudon, Tennessee.
Loudon, Tennessee.
Right outside of Knoxville.
Yeah, I know where Loudon is. Well, was it worth the trip over here?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, it was well worth it. We'll do it again next year. It'll be something he'll never forget. It might have been a little 4-hour drive, but it was worth it.
Well, you don't have that much opportunity anymore to kill a quail, so unless you do it somewhere like this.
I appreciate y'all.
Couple of rides where you have a few here and a few here, but then you start to lose track of your out and two. Where you pick on a couple different places. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, we have a while.
When was the last time you saw sundown through the trees, sitting on the front porch in a cool evening breeze? When was the last time that you heard about what's called? When was the last time? I bet it's been too long. Back in the country now, I know you're gonna say, back in the country, don't you wish that you had stayed?
Thank you, Ron. That was great. Appreciate you putting that together. And all of us know how important it is to get kids outdoors hunting. So we appreciate the efforts you make in doing that. Thank you. Chairman Brown, in Daniel Welch's absence, I would like to proceed with the Boating Law Enforcement Committee. The commission recognizes Walter Cook, Captive Wildlife Coordinator, Boating Law Enforcement Division.
Thank you, Commissioner Schuster. Slide it over. The commissioners, theirs is okay. Y'all's is not. Yes.
This is a rulemaking hearing before the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission to consider amending Rule 1660-01-15, which deals with rules and regulations for animal importation. My name is William Brown, and I will conduct the hearing. The order of the proceedings are as follows. 1, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency staff will present information on the proposed rule amendment. 2, commission members will be permitted to comment and ask questions. 3, members of the audience will be permitted to comment and ask questions. 4, staff members and members of the audience wishing to speak should identify themselves before speaking, and please come to the microphone in the center of the room. At 5, I reserve the right to limit comments and discussion, especially in cases of repetition.
May I proceed? Thank you. This amendment would allow the commission to designate areas that have known CWD cases and prevent the importation of carcasses of cervidae from those areas and parts also. This is in an effort to prevent the introduction of CWD into our state, and we would compile that list annually and distribute it with our hunting guide and other means that we put information out. If we end up with a new case during the course of the year, we can add to that list upon the approval of the commission. The CWD is a chronic wasting disease that's found in certain deer species.
Thank you. Chairman Brown, the Boating Law Enforcement Committee makes a motion to adopt this rule.
Do I have a second? Are there any discussion from the commission members? Any discussion from the audience? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, excuse me, all right.
William Brown.
Aye.
Jim Bledsoe.
Aye.
Harold Cannon.
Aye.
Jeffrey Grew.
Yes.
Jeff McMillan.
Yes.
Mitchell Parks.
Yes.
Julie Schuster.
Yes.
Trey Teague.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Commissioners.
The commission recognizes Glenn Moats, Assistant Chief, Boating Law Enforcement Division.
This also is a rulemaking hearing before the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission to consider amending Rule 1660-02-03, which deals with rules and regulations governing classification of vessels and equipment and lights required. My name is William Brown, and I will conduct the hearing. The order of proceedings are as follows. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency staff will present information on the proposed rule amendment. Commission members will be permitted to comment and ask questions. Members of the audience will be permitted to comment and ask questions. Staff members and members of the audience wishing to speak should identify themselves before speaking and come to the microphone in the center of the room. I reserve the right to limit comments and discussion, especially in cases of repetition.
Thank you, Chairman Brown, Commissioner Schuster. Some brief history on this rule and why the amendment's necessary. This rule was originally passed by the Commission in 2007, and the purpose of the rule is to adopt or incorporate by reference the federal inland navigation rules for boats. The inland navigation rules govern boat operations, including lights displayed, sound signals, and rules of the road. In 2010, the Coast Guard moved the NAV rules from the U.S. Code to the Code of Federal Regulations. So therefore, last year, this commission also passed an amendment to this rule that would reference that change to CFR. The rule amendment was reviewed by the State Attorney General's office and sent back to us for some change in wording. And I have on the slide, as you can see, what they had recommended that we change. They wanted to remove those 3 words you have in red as amended hereinafter, and the new language which they recommended is below. So that's the amendment that we put forth.
Thank you, Glenn.
Okay.
Chairman Brown, excuse me, the Boating Law Enforcement Committee makes a motion to adopt this rule.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second. Ms. Jane, I'll get it right this time. You can have the roll call vote.
William Brown,
Yes?
Jim Bledsoe, Harold Cannon,
Yes.
Jeffrey Griggs, Jeff McMillan,
Yes.
Mitchell Parks,
Yes.
Julie Schuster,
Yes.
Trey Teague.
Yes.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, let's take a 15-minute break, and then we will go to government relations.